Well, it happened back in November of 2013. Asher Vongtau was wedged in a tight, cramped space for nearly 2 days. This is it.
Became wedged in that 2-foot wide space between a dormitory and a parking garage. Firefighters actually had to break through a cinder block wall to pull him out. Turns out he may have ended up there after falling from a window. Thankfully, and however miraculously, he is recovering in the hospital.
Tonight, he describes how he got there and how he managed to survive.
And he tells his story only to
Ted Jones. What's up, Asher Vongtau? Good to see you, dude. Ted Jones here. So this is the first time we're meeting, guys. You know, you sense, a nice warm welcome from Asher. This is crazy, man. So I reached out to you on Instagram, just letting the viewers and listeners know. I heard about your story about 10 years ago, around there. But I definitely want to talk about your life, coming to the United States, because you moved here from Nigeria when you were 13, no?
Yeah, sure. You did your research.
Yeah, dude, did a little bit of research. I'm gonna pull you in here.
I did. I moved here when I was 13 to Maryland, Elkridge, Maryland, and spent like a year there. Then I moved to Pittsburgh, went to high school, and then NYU.
Did you speak English before you came to the States?
Yeah, I mean, English is the de facto first language in Nigeria.
Oh,
I do
it
speak one other language that's not not nearly as popular, but
What
I haven't
language?
been there in a while.
What language?
Hausa.
Hausa.
Yeah.
Is that like a form of Nigerian country type language?
It is essentially there's I would say 500 languages spoken in Nigeria. Hausa is top 3.
All right, cool. Yeah. Do you have an influence of Nigerian music? Because I know that you're a rapper now, bro, and also you're wearing the headphones like a true rapper, dude. So it's funny how
I'm trying to hear my own voice as well.
Right.
That's
a little bit of both,
yeah.
dude. Yeah, well, with the comedians and the rappers, I freestyle and shit. So I know how to hold the microphone like a rapper, but I also know how to hold it like a comedian, and it's different, dude.
Us,
you have to change it,
yeah.
especially at the end of my set. I'll do a freestyle, so I just have to switch out my handle,
really?
and I'm like code switching a little bit with the mic handles.
That's what's up. Yeah, I am a rapper. My influences are mostly American, hilariously, but Biggie, Tupac, Kendrick. But the Nigerian aspects of my music is mostly old school, Fela Kuti, and some of the stuff that my dad was playing.
And I heard one of your songs. I'm sorry, I can't remember the name, but it was on YouTube. You released it 6 or 7 years ago. A very chill music video. I'll pop it up right here.
Oh my goodness.
As I was doing the research, I just forget the song name.
Send it to me because I don't remember the name.
Yeah, well, we're popping it up right here, man. So, I guess coming here from Nigeria, you went to an American school in Nigeria, or how did that look?
British, actually, a British curriculum.
I can sense a hint of British accent in you. Do you ever get that?
Try to get rid of that so badly,
okay.
but
Dude,
yeah, no, it's still there.
To get rid of that.
I mean, it's still there. Yeah, my mom spent time in America when she was younger, because my grandpa was an ambassador or some shit from Nigeria, so she had American influences. So I was watching American TV growing up and stuff. But then I went to boarding school for 3 years, which was a British curriculum. So most of how I speak is a little bit of a British influence, lieutenant, how the British say. Yeah.
Were there a lot of just international kids going to that school in Nigeria?
There were kids there's this funny thing that Nigerians do, which even when they come here and they settle down for a generation, they tend to send their kids back to boarding schools in Nigeria. For,
really?
Discipline or whatever. Uh-huh. So it was mostly kids who lived in Nigeria, but there were a few maybe a handful of kids who lived in the UK and were spending their time here as punishment.
Right. Oh, as punishment, really?
Yeah, punitive measures send you to this really intense Christian boarding school, get you improve your manners and stuff.
Also, isn't it pretty, I guess, European to send your kids to boarding school? We don't really do that so much in New York.
That's what I'm saying. I really have not met
US.
a lot of people in the US who've gone to boarding school, but it is a very European thing we try to adopt as much European centric values as possible.
Where did you go to school when you came here when you were 13?
I went to Elkridge Landing Middle School for 1 year.
Okay.
Then high school, which I went to Taylor Alderdice High School.
Where's that? Oh, in Maryland.
That's in Pittsburgh. No,
Pittsburgh.
Because I moved to Pittsburgh. Yeah, went to high school with Mac Miller. If you're
let's go, bro. That's so funny. Before you came in, Mac Miller was the song before.
Really?
Shout out Mac, dude.
What song is it?
Good Day, right? Yeah. He's fresh.
Yeah, rest in peace, Mac Miller.
Take me, tell me when to stop. cheek to cheek. Dude, he was fresh, man. I was really disappointed when he passed away, you know?
yeah.
Obviously, you know, when anyone passes away, it's unchill.
Yeah,
But like
but-
him and XXX, I thought were like just very, I thought they were going to be around for a long time, changing the music game.
Yeah, I was a little pissed at him because like I really didn't get a chance to like use that high school connection.
Mac
But,
Miller?
Yeah, but I mean, rest in peace to Mac.
Well, was he the same age as you? How old are you?
I'm 28. I'm 29 this year.
So he's like kind of around the same age as us. I'm 31.
Yeah, he was 2 grades, maybe 3 above me. Like when I was a 10th grader, I think.
What, dude? Were you in like the
I met him
cafeteria when he was
once.
freestyling and shit?
I think I was jealous enough that I saw him from afar, but never like.
No.
I think, to be honest, man, like high school me was not cool or into cool stuff. So I think Mac Miller, which was a cool thing, was not like attractive to me. I was like, this white kid's trying to rap.
Right, but like, was that the full consensus with everybody in
No,
your
not
school?
at all. He was very popular. And he was filming like, I mean, Wiz had already become a rapper at that time, so we were like on Wiz's coattails looking for the next like.
Dude, that
Wiz.
was like what that was
And
like.
he was the next Wiz.
That was like one of the first vlogs I really started to watch
Yeah?
day to day with Wiz Khalifa.
Really?
Yeah, dude, on YouTube. I mean, this is probably like 10 years ago when like YouTube vlogs I think were first really being introduced. He was like one of the first goats. Did they both went to your high school?
Yeah, I never met Wiz, but yeah, I met Mac, and I think like honestly, Wiz like is still an inspiration, even though I never met him.
Yeah,
like,
dude,
I still listen
love
to a
him,
lot of
dude.
Wiz's
Still,
music.
it gives me hope that I'm like able to smoke as much weed and still be like, oh yeah, Wiz does it. It's all good.
Hashtag 420, baby.
You know what I mean, dude? Like smoking a bunch of joints during the day. I'm like, well, if Wiz does it, I can fucking do it.
Exactly
You know what I mean?
I'm saying. I'm gonna try it at least, like see how long it goes.
Yeah, exactly. 10 to 15 joints a day. You should be good. You know what I'm saying? So you grew up in suburban life, kind of. What happened for high school years?
High school years, I grew up in the city. It was like mostly like a white Jewish community.
Okay.
But I think my senior year, I switched high schools, and I went out to what is like still the suburbs, but it was very much like a different environment, more segregated, I would say. Like, I met way less black people like when I switched high schools senior year.
Okay, and where was that?
Baldwin High School. That it was like just
In New York,
outside of-
Baldwin?
No, Pittsburgh, like Pennsylvania, just like outside of the outskirts of Pittsburgh.
Senior year in high school, did you have a lot of college options before you came to NYU?
I had 2. I had the University of Pittsburgh, which is where my mom works.
Okay.
To this day, and I had NYU, which was like I hadn't even finished the Pitt application when I got my NYU acceptance.
Dude, I feel like they probably were going to give you like all the money in the world if you went to Pitt.
Really? You
Right?
think so? I mean, I was trying.
Well,
to
I
get
mean,
out
if
of
you got
that
into NYU, I feel like that
city. I was
NYU.
trying to get out of that city, Ted.
Oh,
There
yeah.
was like
I feel
there
you,
was
dude.
nothing that was going to keep me. I don't know if you've ever been to Pittsburgh, but it's
I went to Ligonier one time. It was
where is that?
like it's super quiet town near Pittsburgh.
Okay.
My aunt was living there for like a year. Like it was crazy, dude. If
Did you have a good time?
it was nice to see my family, but no, not really,
It's
dude.
tranquil. It's extremely boring.
Right.
Like
Very
and
suburban.
I'm trying to have a little fun before I die. So I thought
Absolutely, bro.
coming to New York was like, I still visit Pittsburgh and I appreciate it for what it is. This is
Right.
not a trash Pittsburgh podcast, but it's certainly like a realistic
I mean, we're
appraisal.
talking about the goats of Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
You,
me,
Mac
Mac.
Miller, and Wiz.
And
Let's
Wiz.
go, dude. Absolutely, man. When did your music influence kind of take over? When you got to NYU and you were like, yo, look at all this diversity. White kids, black
maybe,
kids, Asians
maybe.
hanging?
Honestly, is my best friend to this day is he grew up in North Cal. He grew up in San Francisco, the Bay,
okay.
specifically, and he
What was it?
the Bay.
No, but what is it? The fizzle dance? You know what I'm talking about? Your boy definitely knows what I'm talking about.
You literally look just like I miss him so much. But that was my guy. He introduced me to hip hop on a level that I hadn't really like appreciated.
Okay.
Which is kind of upsetting because he's Korean and I'm black. And it was like,
okay, right,
it was
right,
kind of like, but like my education, I should say, started freshman year of NYU, and shit didn't really like pop up until I almost ruined my life. You know, there wasn't really much to rap about as an NYU freshman until my sophomore year, which is when I did a little bit too much, and then I had like all this like internal stimulus. You know, there was like such a need to like create stuff, so I was like, rap, like this is something that I think I'm already really good at, even though I wasn't. But that was the confidence level of a rapper. I was like, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna express myself and figure out how to heal. so to speak, from what was kind of a shitty experience.
Did you live on campus for freshman and sophomore year?
I did. They kicked me out as a result of my actions in my sophomore year, but I lived just off 3rd Ave in Manhattan both years.
Like 12th Street or something?
11th and between
Like the
11th
Brittany?
and 12. The 3rd North is what it's called.
Do you know what I'm talking about? The Brittany, though? I think it was like right around there. Maybe they changed the name also.
They change names very frequently,
Yeah,
but
okay.
I know ours is still OG 3rd North. Look,
Yeah.
I walk past it all the time.
So my parents actually met in the Brittany. They went to NYU.
Are you serious?
Yeah,
Oh my God. NYU?
Yeah, NYU, doggy. But the thing was, when they went, apparently it was like not cool to go to NYU. Like it wasn't something to be proud
Did that
of.
change at some
Yeah,
point? I
dude.
think like movies and like some TV shows
It was
just started
I think it's U Miami and NYU really like in the past 20 years.
Have just clicked
everybody just wants to go to Miami or be in New York City. So it's like that's why I think it's just grown so much.
every time I look up someone famous, like every other famous person's like, oh yeah, NYU Tish.
Yeah,
And I'm like,
yeah.
damn.
A lot of people want to be in NYU, even though it costs $70,000 a year, kid. All right, dude. So Asher, let's you were talking about it briefly, man. I think let's get to this incident that you had, bro. So what was this sophomore year during a party?
Yeah.
Halloween. So let's go from there.
So it's Halloween. I want to paint the picture for you because it seems really depressing. My girlfriend, on and off at the time, had broken up with me in just like chill fashion, just like I never want to see you again. I hate your guts. Like text.
She went to NYU.
No, she went to Baldwin, which is
Oh shit!
Pittsburgh.
Was this like a long distance relationship?
Well, we were trying to make it work.
Oh, bro, by the way, before you get into it, I had a situation like this too, like long distance. And like the thing is with long distance and you have a breakup, I feel like it's worse than the shorter distance because you
can't
feel
meet
like, yeah, dude. And you also thinking like, what is she doing out there? What is she doing, bro?
That's funny that you say that. I mean, I found out what she was doing. I mean, she has I don't know if I should say this.
You could say it. Dude.
She had a baby, you know, like she's like she had a baby with my high school bully. Actually, I don't think either of them even
dude.
connected this. Like different high schools, obviously. Like
How old were you at this? Oh, you were like 20 years old. So she
19.
was 20.
Yeah,
was
but
20?
no, I didn't know any of this at the time. All I knew is that she sent me a text. She was like, "I hate you. I don't want to speak to you anymore."
What'd you do,
We
by
broke
the
it up. I had a night. You know, I think like in reaction to it, I was like, "Fuck it, let's ball." So my friends and I, we went out to a couple parties. We're having a lot of fun, smoking a lot of weed, and we settled back at an NYU dorm, and then we did some more drugs. And I think I hit my limit. Just like we'd done so much. You're drinking all night, smoking, but then we did some.
Perhaps nose beers. You don't have to confirm.
Yeah, we did some drugs, some very specific mind altering chemicals that did not affect my friends nearly as like potently as they affected me because I was a newbie and my friends were tripping every other weekend to see pretty lights. So I was in this space where there were all these like experienced psychedelic minds and me like going through like the greatest awakening. I'd done acid before once.
You were in a dorm room at this time when
I
you
was
were
in
with
a
everyone?
dorm room at the time. Yeah, we were sitting around, and then I started freaking out. And I was just like silently inward, like freaking the fuck out about these drugs. So I took a step out, and I don't think anyone even noticed because that's when things get a little like spacey. Because I go from the dorm I'm on to the roof, and then I come.
You mean
back
how you
down.
remember it?
Exactly. It's all like choppy. I just remember leaving the dorm with my friends, ended up on the roof somehow.
With them?
No. I was singular by the time this activity began. So I think I pulled the fire alarm because I was freaking out about some shit. Like my mind was just going a little crazy. I knocked on this girl's door. Her name was Kat, and I had a friend back home who was comforting. And I knocked on Kat's door. She opens up, and I'm like, "Help me!" I'm like in distress from these mind-altering chemicals, and she's like, "I don't know who you are, man. Like, can you leave my dorm?"
No. This was in your head.
No, real life. Like,
But I thought she was your friend.
No, her name was Kat, and I had a friend from So it's mind on, but it was on some other shit. Like, I don't know where you are today, but if you watching this video somehow, I'm sorry because I freaked out a lot of people. I was
Okay, but
running through the dorms.
how did this girl named Kat though? You had somebody in your mind who was a friend back home.
Catherine Schmutzer, we were close in high school. Like, hope she's doing well, but
Right.
like, you know, we're not friends anymore or anything like that.
But
she
who was
was
the- yeah, go
kind to me, like, you know, like as a friend and
Yeah.
comforting energy. And I thought, Kat, she'll help me. and went right to knocked on this cat's door, and wasn't obviously the same cat, and did not get the reaction I expected. But that was like how I'm just giving you an example of how my mind was running at the time. There's also no 13th floor in this dorm. It's called the Lafayette dorm at NYU, and going down the stairs after I pulled the fire alarm was disorienting for some reason, because when I figured out there was no 13th floor, I started to freak out. Lots of stuff. So at the end of all of this, I fell off the roof. Somehow made it back up to the roof, fell in between a parking structure and the dorm. There's like this tiny, I want to say like 2-inch, 3-inch long space. It's enough to house a very thin Nigerian boy. And it was like just enough space for me to fall through, like hit a few edges, and not like a direct fall, but certainly like I have contusions all over my body from it. So there's like it's a little bouncy. And then I remember like being at the bottom of this, what seemed like a prison of some sorts. It's hard to like explain how I felt at the time, because I was so sure I was having a dream. You know, half of it is like dreamy, and the other half is like, holy shit, am I like dead right now? You know? So that was how I got to this point, I guess. Like, I think the accident was one thing, but then like the aftermath was another thing, if that makes any sense. Like,
So what time was it when you think you fell?
November 1st, like 7 a.m. is when I say I fell. And then
my gosh.
they found me like 2 days later. So I spent 36 hours alone, just like thinking about God and me,
In between two buildings.
tripping balls.
So you fell at around 7 a.m. on November 1st. Do you kind of sort of remember when you came back to fully consciousness, where you were sober and being like, what
Yeah,
the fuck?
I tried to like rescue myself. There were like some cables, like I don't know, some I can't explain, like a structure that wasn't. It was probably just like some cabling or something that I was kept trying to hoist myself. Like,
I know the kids were like spreading rumors saying that you tried to cut your arm off.
that's like the most hilarious thing, because it's
an
like
hour and
that's not-
127.
I literally can't get over that humor, because I didn't have the wherewithal to be like, I'm gonna cut my arm off right now. I couldn't feel my arm, like, so I only had this one. So I was like lying on this. I'd broken this. I had no idea. But
So what time, if you fell at 7 a.m., what time do you think you came back to consciousness?
I would say
kind
the
of?
next like maybe
That night?
12 hours later, yeah,
So
something
that
like
night?
that. Yeah, so that night I come to, I pee myself. I remember that.
Yeah,
very
bro, I was going to
specifically.
ask you if you need to like drop a deuce.
Yeah, I know I did not do a number 2. I
Okay,
think
good.
Definitely did a couple number 1s.
Yes.
Because it was cold, man. It was November. I got frostbite from just being there. So yeah, like
In
frostbite
November
on my-
1st?
Yeah, I think it was especially cold.
Yeah, it
autumn.
sounds like, damn.
Yeah, I got frostbite in my.
You still have all
my digits, but
feet?
there's some. Yeah, there's still like. I'm not a frostbite expert, but yeah, there's still some residual like cell damage or whatnot. Yeah, I came to, like, peed myself. You know, had a whole bunch of like thought processes of like, where am I? Like, are my friends hiding me in some closet? Like,
So
some
November,
practical joke?
November 1st at like 12 hours later, 6 p.m., 7 p.m. you're
Yeah,
like, what the
I'm
fuck?
like
I'm in
figuring
between.
out, like, what's
I'm in
going
between
on.
two buildings.
Yeah. That was not the concept. I thought closet space. I thought some at the bottom of someone's. It's hard to explain what it looks like, but I remember like looking up at the sky, you know, like, because it was still grayish. It was raining, and I thought like, oh, this shit might be hell. Like,
Did you think you were in a dream? Maybe.
I grew up very religious, and I still hold a lot of the tenets of Christianity like to my heart. And hell is one of the like deepest things they try and like explain to you. Like, it's gonna be bad in ways you don't understand. And I thought like, oh shit, like this is my hell. Like, I've transgressed, and now I'm like being judged for all my sins and whatnot. So like that was probably one of the closest things I remember to feeling like extremely like, oh, this is done. Like,
Did you start screaming as soon as you like came to conscious? How did that look?
Yelling, I would say, but like I didn't have the lung capacity to be screaming. Like, damn, I was like, when they brought me out and they took me to the hospital, I had a bunch of like just foreign objects in my lungs, like
Like dust
substances.
particles,
Yeah,
types.
just from breathing that shit for a day and a half. Yeah.
And there must have been like chip paint also in between those two buildings and shit that hadn't been painted in 50 years.
Asbestos.
Right,
That's where they store all the asbestos in the city in that little like 2-inch crawl space. I remember like calling for help and then someone from the roof like screaming out, "What are you doing down there?" And I was like, "I don't know."
So when was that though? Did you fall asleep from
I kept coming back.
November 1st, 7 p.m.
Sleeping, waking up, and like this like waking dream, like kind of like a cycle.
Oh,
so
what do you think the peak point of you bugging the fuck out?
Bugging, I think when I did try to like free myself, like
So when was that? How many hours in? You said?
probably 20 hours in, or maybe 15. We're at the midpoint where I'm like, I can do this. Like I'm gonna be the guy who like frees himself from this thing. And I thought, because I'm a stubborn and driven individual, and I thought like I could really just get through this if I just put enough like of my mind into it, enough of my like. But I couldn't. Obviously, that's goes without saying. Shout out to the FDNY. The only way I got out of that space was they had to drill a hole through the parking structure on the other side to get me out. Like there was no like they couldn't. They tried to let a rope down from the roof, but there was no way I was gonna like grab onto that and like pull myself up. So they were like, "We gotta go in from the bottom."
Was that the super who found you?
I don't know who found me. I just know I heard someone like screaming, "What are you doing down there?" And my response was like, just like in a comical, like I don't know, but help me, you know, like when you get a chance. Like,
And then right after that, do you remember like you being helped?
I remember like what it was like to speak to the guys who were talking to me, because I just wanted to like, I wanted to stay alive, and I thought like just keeping my brain like active would be helpful. So I was like just kind of like appreciative, like thank you so much for like helping me out. Like I'm so sorry to make you have to come all the way to Tribeca.
Were you? Tribeca. You mean in between the buildings?
Yeah, sorry, man. I'm just like my Uber is waiting for me. Sorry.
Were you super hungry too?
I couldn't eat anything.
No, I know, but like mentally, were you like, I'm hungry now, like I want to get out, I'm hungry, I have to pee. Now it's getting, when did it start to get super uncomfortable? Were you like, I might die? I know you said you were super stubborn.
At
and
the
like,
midpoint, yeah, at the midpoint of like struggling, failing to hoist myself through this up against, not knowing that like half of my body was broken. Like I'd broken my arm.
you didn't really feel it?
Yeah, it was absolute like shock, and just not being able to like even access any of like what I felt below here. So I was like, oh, like I'm just gonna need to pull myself up and I'll be fine. But none of that worked. And like the freaking out was like I just passed out, I think, and then came back to, you know, it wasn't like
A few times.
an active, like I think my mind has at this point like just deleted some of those files for safety. You know, it must have been like, it's still traumatic to talk about, but like I don't remember enough of it to be like as traumatized as I could be.
You fractured your skull. Was that like the worst injury from that?
Well, this is like this is the bad boy that I
zoom in on that. Can you show the camera?
yeah. Where's my
Bro, that looks like my neck too.
this is the like, it's not as bad as it looks, even though it's completely terrible. Like is a compartmentalized fracture. So I
like some metal
the
in there?
bones yeah, I got some like titanium screws and whatnot. And this is the worst, I think, because everything else has like, I can hide everything else, but I still like have limited
a little bit.
mobility. Exactly. I still like feel just I can't sleep on my left side anymore. You know, I have to like be upright or on my right.
Were your friends bugging out? Like who?
Yeah,
was
my
really
friend Nick,
worried?
who I told you about, who was helping with my music and stuff, was
Korean guy?
freaking out. Yeah, he freaked out and called my mom.
So
Called
what
my
time?
sister.
He woke up like the next day, 1 p.m.
Because we lived in the same dorm and like
Dorm room? Or?
Yeah, in Alumni Hall, which on like third. Not this. We weren't like dorm roommates, but we like lived in the same building. He was on like 5, and I think I was on 2, and like we'd hang out. We'd like been best friends for at least a year and a half, and like I was his NYU friend. So when I'd gone missing for like a day and I didn't return text messages or anything, people like posting on my Facebook, he started to freak out personally. It was like going to campus security. They said wait 24 hours. He tried to go to the cops, called my sister, called my mom, and he got the ball rolling with like, oh shit, like this dude is missing and you need to find him.
Did you have your phone on you at this point?
They found my phone, which I still have as
Oh, yeah,
a
you totally
keepsake
found.
at my house. And it was like on the roof and my shoes were also on the roof, I think, somewhere.
So did they check your location on the phone?
Oh, did they? No, I don't think they. I had a Galaxy at the time, a Samsung Galaxy 3.
Oh,
they
yeah,
didn't have
bro,
like
this,
those.
yeah,
This
fucking
is
a long time ago. It might even have been
2013.
before it. Yeah.
I think they didn't have locations at the time. The only like the clues were like the shit I left behind, like my shoes and my phone.
But I wonder how those shoes came off. Were you just tripping
I
balls?
was tripping balls. Like, to be honest with you, so it's hard to conceptualize what I was doing and why I was doing it. Just like a shedding of my like outer layers because I was uncomfortable.
Was there a specific moment when you realized in the beginning that something was off, or it didn't really hit you until kind of the next morning? Soon as it happened, were you like, oh, this feels fucking real? And then you kind of settled into it, tripping wise.
No, I would say they were just like thinking about the catalyst of the night. Like, I was like, I just been broken up with, and I was in the room with this girl. I was in the room with this girl I really liked, and we were like vibing and hitting it off. And so at some point, thought processes just like clicked, and something I started to freak out about my whole life and the trajectory of where I was going in life. And then I just started to deep dive into my psyche. And there's
while
not
you
specifics.
Were there?
Yeah, while I was sitting tripping with my friends, and there's no specifics I can really remember. I just suddenly adopted this internal fear of everything. And I did a little research on what it's like to like take LSD, and it does affect a part of your brain called the locus coeruleus. It's where fear comes in you. And like I just remember being as terrified as I've ever been. Like, this is before I fell or tripped or anything. Like, just the feeling of fear, like, just everywhere. And I had to like get up and leave, you know, like that impetus to like, oh, something's happening and I need to like go. So that's what I remember. Like, and that's what like kind of got me freaked out. I was like just afraid of life, I guess, in general.
Do you remember breaking down and just like crying as soon as you were found?
I think my mom was like the first voice I heard, like when I got to the hospital, like aside from like this nurse who wouldn't let me eat anything. She said I could only have ice chips, and I was really pissed about that because like my internals were like, they weren't sure if I was bleeding or whatever. But once I heard my mom, I started to like immediately like apologize, like, and she was a good sport about it. She was like laughing. She missed a conference, like this conference she was supposed to go to in San Francisco. And she was like pissed about it. She was like, why couldn't you have waited for like a couple weeks to like almost die? Like, I had this like conference going on. So she helped so much to bring levity to what was otherwise an extremely like traumatic and emotional experience. I didn't cry much when I saw her. I just like let her hug me because I'm just like lying there. And like, she made me feel like, you know, it's okay. Like, I mean, you fucked up, but you know, it's all good. Like, we're going to take it from here. We're going to make sure you heal. And that was helpful. Like, I can't thank my mother enough, but like having a mom like that who didn't really like give me as much shit for it as I deserved, you know, she just kind of like took care of me for like a month. And then I went back to school. Like,
what was the feeling like when you knew that you were going to be okay?
It's religious, honestly. Like, my mom always talks about, oh, everyone who hears the story is like, oh, God has a plan for you.
Word.
Like, and I'm like, oh, sure, why not? I have way less like religious leanings towards it, but it's certainly like I could have died. Like, that's a very real, because a month later after my incident, some guy fell off the roof of another NYU building and definitely died. He was also on some drugs. So don't do drugs, guys, unless on to,
especially if you're not on the roof.
Especially if you're on a roof. So that was real. Like, I think it didn't really hit me how close I was to death until the aftermath of like really like going over the notes, people telling me like how serious it was. I got back to NYU after in a month, was taking my finals, was like meeting a bunch of people who were like talking about me.
Oh shit.
So that was where it got real.
Loving that, or like
I think in a way that I couldn't really access. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you, Ted. I did try.
You remember the kid Asher? He almost died. Oh, send him my panties, bro.
That's what I'm like. In a way, it was like sexy. It was like, holy shit, he's a talk of.
Yeah, dude. I mean, you cheated death. No,
and I tried to capitalize on it as much as I could, but I think the trauma was too much. Like, I would be at parties, like just like smoking, drinking, talking about my shit like it never happened, and then something would switch. I would just be like, I gotta leave. I can't be here right now. piece.
Just got to be the PTSD.
You could say that. I did try and like hook up with girls on the strength of I'm that guy, you know, like I fell off a building, man. What's up with you?
What was the press coverage like right after it happened? Because I know that there are a ton of articles, you know, people interviewed you.
Yeah,
but like,
this
what was
lady
it like?
at Insider Edition tried to sell me my story for $5,000, which at the time
Wait,
didn't
she
seem-
tried. She wanted you say that.
She
again?
was like, this lady from Insider Edition.
Yeah.
She was like, hey, we need to talk about your story. We'll give you $5,000 as like compensation for you telling my story. And I was freaked out because I thought I was about to get expelled from MIU. So I was like, yeah, I'm not doing those stories, but thank you. Like, you can still send me the money if you want to, but like, I'm not talking to you about it. And I think a month after I got back to school, I had like a disciplinary meeting with, not a month after, like literally days after I got back to school. They sat me down. These guys at the, I don't know what you call it. They have like the morality police at NYU. They like were like, you can't do this. Like, I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I almost died. Isn't that punishment enough? They're like, no, we're kicking you out of your dorm.
Well, did they know the situation?
Like,
did you tell them?
I ain't no snitch. So I didn't really want to get my friends in trouble who were living at the dorm.
Yeah.
So I made up a story, lied a bunch, and I made it seem like it was an isolated incident, just me. Took some bad
Well, I
shit.
mean, bro, it was an isolated incident. That wasn't.
Yeah, no,
it's like multiple times.
Yeah,
you've
no,
done
no,
this?
but the extent of like the drug use.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it was just you doing it
It's
one
10
time
years
by
later, so there's
yourself.
like exactly like none of my friends knew, none of them like I didn't mention any names. I was just sort of like, yeah, my friends were partying, so was I.
Were
did
they
some drugs.
bugging out too? They thought they were going to get kicked out.
My friends?
Yeah.
I
like
think
they
in
knew
a
you weren't
way
gonna
that
snitch.
I like to this day still love those dudes.
Yeah.
They're not really my friends no more, you know, like they're just like
The dudes
acquaintances.
that you have, yeah, bro.
Because
That's
they let me down in a
Dude.
way that I can't really express to them. This is like they let me down, you know. It wasn't like
Well, why did they let you down? What do you
because I had never done like I hadn't done as much of that shit as they
mean?
had.
So you
And
feel like they should have
I
been
felt
looking out
like,
for you a little bit.
in a way that like that's on me to pick better friends, or like that's on me to not put myself in that situation. But especially like after I got back to school, like after I was on the news and all that, like them coming to me and being like, yo, you almost died, man, like we could have lost you. And then me finding out that they were like partying the night after, you know, like they were like, you know, whatever, they're gonna find him and he's gonna be all right. And I was, but there was this level of not betrayal because I'm the one who did the drugs, I'm the one who freaked out, but like I knew from that point on, like I had to take care of myself in every situation. Like I couldn't really call those people friends anymore, at least not on the same level that I was so like ready to like belong to those guys. Like,
Yeah, bro. That's like a life lesson too,
and
right?
it's a life lesson because it changed my view on a lot of things. I've had to walk back some of my optimism in life because I'm always so like I see the best in people and stuff like that. That event makes me like see the best in people, but also extremely cautious of any and every situation. I'm
So
just sort of like,
was there a point that maybe you thought, you said that they were partying the next night. Was there a point that maybe they should have put out the message that you were missing, or did they
I
not
think
want to
they
get
were
in trouble?
scared of getting in trouble, which is like I get that. There's no.
Because on any level, dude, if they went to the cops, it seems like, or seemingly, you know, from a 20-year-old kid's
Yeah.
perspective, they're gonna get in trouble any way you chop it up.
I felt like I didn't want to get them in trouble the moment I like came to and was conscious of the whole situation. Like, oh shit, the whole school knows about this. I'm not trying to get my friends expelled. So I imagine they had those feelings as well. Like at 20, you're not really thinking about like, you're just thinking you don't want to get in trouble. You're not thinking about the real consequences of like life and death. So sure, I get it, 20-year-old. But there's also like,
Sorry, it's a garbage pit. Go ahead.
I thought you had a roommate coming in. I was like,
No, good. Yeah.
so there's also this like I get it. There's no way you guys would have been able to save my life, but there's also like I would never put my life in your hands again. You know, like I would never put myself in that situation, especially not with you guys.
What do you think are the extreme positives that came from this? Because, dude, this is like surviving a freaking shark attack. I mean,
The
something
extreme
like your
positives is like there's-
mindset wise.
Yeah, there's a lot I can do. Like I've always
Oh, let's
been,
fucking go, dude. That was something David Goggins would have said.
there's a lot I can do. Like having survived this, like I see a lot in myself that maybe like other people don't, because I think, oh, I almost died, like, and I didn't, just off, I want to say, sheer luck. And like I still think I have a lot to do like on this planet, so that's like an exciting like purpose builder. You know, you're like, I almost died, I gotta make some music, I gotta make some art, I gotta show some love to people, I gotta live life while it's here, because it's not guaranteed. You know, you don't know when you're just gonna make a stupid mistake and then you're done. So that's a positive takeaway. I also like, you know, try not to trip too much about people breaking up with me. That's another positive. Like, that was kind of an overreaction. The entire night before me falling off the roof was an overreaction, like an extreme personality change, because someone was like, yeah, I don't want to be your girlfriend anymore. And I think like, as I've gone through a few more breakups in the last few years, like I've learned like it wasn't that deep. Like, it was never that deep. Like, that wasn't the love of my life. Like, that was just a person who I had a connection with. I should have maybe like been a little nicer to myself in the moment. Like, I could have maybe saved myself a little bit of pain if I was nicer to myself.
How many feet did you fall?
30.
And the building was 10 stories?
I guess. Like, it's hard to do the math.
Right. Well, you figure each story, I guess, is 10 feet.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how many. I would say just because of the bouncing around, it probably was 30, and like not a direct 30 fall, because a 30-foot fall is like, you're dead, I'm sure.
I mean, bro, you survived.
I did. Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. I think that's kind of why I wanted to do this. I think it's really helpful to talk about it, because I don't think I've ever.
You ever talk to therapists about it?
No, Nigerians don't do therapy.
Okay.
I'm kidding. I have tried to find like a therapist, but I don't think I'm ready to like entrust someone, like professionally speaking, like pay them money to.
And it feels like you kind of already.
I do a lot of therapy,
you.
man.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. No, it's not behind me, man. Because no matter how I try to put it behind me, someone's always gonna hit me up on Instagram and be like, "Hey, 10 years ago, man, you fell off a building. You wanna, like, come on my podcast and talk about it?"
That's how I found them.
And I think that putting it not behind me, but certainly putting it into perspective,
yes,
is like
absolutely.
is important. Because I wake up every day and I'm like, "Oh shit, my arm hurts. Why?" And then I go, "Oh, that's right. Like, you fell off a building." And then I go through the process of like forgiving myself for falling off a building. Like, as I'm getting ready for work, I'm just like, "Oh, like, I'm so mad at you for hurting my arm." And in response to myself, I'm like, well, I was 19, man. I didn't know better, and I'm sorry to myself for doing that. And that's part of my process, you know, like finding forgiveness within myself for being like, I'm always so like I said, driven, trying to do stuff, trying to be better. And it's hard to, like, the most important thing from all of this is like self-forgiveness, you know, like I fucked up, but also I survived, you know?
Were there any insurance claims made on your behalf or NYU for this incident?
You think so?
Incident? I'm asking if there were.
Like, no.
Like, maybe if the fire department had to be paid back for drilling, and then maybe NYU got paid back.
Really?
I mean, the fact that you didn't get expelled, bro, and you just got kicked out of the dorm is
that like
interesting to me.
I mean, I don't think I should have gotten expelled or
Right. Well, maybe
not
because
kicked
they didn't know the full story, though, theoretically.
right? I don't think the full story would have much changed that disciplinary. It was more like you did drugs, you were on campus. There's a zero tolerance.
Dude, that's
for
like I
it.
got caught smoking the friggin' bowl with my roommate 10th grade.
I also had gotten caught smoking a bunch of so it wasn't like it was also like I was living on my freshman year. I was living on a floor 13 dudes who maybe 90% of us were just getting into weed.
Yes.
Doing grav bongs in the bathroom.
It's legal now, bro.
It is
so
legal
we're
now.
good,
So,
my
you know,
guy.
oh my God, get over it. And I think we got written up so many times. Specifically, I got written up like maybe 4 or 5 times. Like as a
RA?
group. Yeah. Because our RA was like,
Smoking cheeb in the dorm.
I cannot tell you how much we smoked too much weed that year. we got along swimmingly because of it. Like, but our RAs did not love us, and we got written up a lot. So that, in addition to, you know, like making a nuisance of yourself, they were like, yeah, we can't have you in the dorms anymore. You can't visit any of your friends in the dorms. You're kicked out for the rest of your time at NYU, and you also can't go into any of the dorms.
Oh,
to visit your
shit.
friends.
That's-
Persona non grata. That was the part that really fucked me. So all my friends.
What does
like,
that mean? Some
persona
Greek
non
shit?
Yeah, just some fucking Greek shit. You can't come in here is what it means.
Oh, okay.
So every time I would like, the first time I tried to like get signed into a dorm, he looked at my ID and then opened this like folder.
Oh, the blacklist.
The blacklist. He
Your
opened
pic
the
was right on the
blacklist
front
and
page, dude.
And he just went, I am. You can't come in, man. And he's like, you can't try and come inside.
He was like
in
a
here
white
again.
guy. You were like, yo, this guy's racist.
Jesus. There was no, like, I mean, there was nothing like that feeling, man, of like, damn it's
just to
just
be
me
annexed.
against the world.
Okay,
man.
so you came back for finals December of that year, like a month after.
Yeah.
You couldn't live in the dorms. Where did you move to? And then how did the rest of sophomore year and then
I'm
junior
so
and
glad
senior
you asked,
year
man.
look like?
So I moved to 155th and Bradhurst. This is like Harlem, like off the D train.
Holy shit, that's far from NYU.
Dude. It was like, it changed my whole life because I just walked to class every day. Like, but now I had to like get on the D train for like an hour. It just changed my whole like perspective of the city because I just lived in Manhattan the first 2 years, like Manhattan specifically, like Greenwich Village and that like third
Year and a
area.
half or?
Yeah, for just like freshman year and then like the parts of like
Beginning of
of
sophomore
sophomore year. Yeah. So when I got kicked out, I moved to 155th and I lived there for 3 months or 2, and then I moved out to Fort Greene.
How was your mental health at this particular time?
Oh, trashed, man. Absolutely. But I think the idea of like, I just got to get through this semester. I just got to get through this year was helpful. I was in NYU's liberal studies program at the time. So I didn't have like a major specifically, but I had to pick one like eventually. So I was like, maybe I'll try some politics classes. So I took political theory. That was what I took that freshman year. And then my sophomore year, I was in a class when I fell, which was like power and politics. He let me like get a pass fail on it. Like I didn't have to do the final or anything like that. And I was still like trying to figure out who I wanted to be as a person, like academically. So my mental health wasn't even like, I wasn't thinking about like, oh, I'm going to go see a therapist or I'm going to like take a break this summer. It was more like, I got to get ahead of this. I've like missed out on a little bit of time, like from falling down. So I need to like catch up. I need to like start like, you know, like figuring out what my major is going to be, like how I'm going to graduate from this school. Without,
So what's
like,
the thought
fucking up
process
again.
like, holy shit, I'm so thankful I'm alive. Let's look for all the difficult things in life right now. Because you just went through the most difficult thing.
There was a little bit of
likely
like,
of all time.
there was a little bit of like, I do want to like try
I'm
and get
alive.
with girls
Let's fire
and like
up.
try and like be the popular guy on campus,
Sure.
like be something different.
Yes.
And that was the point where I started meeting a lot of people outside of my circle at NYU. Started to like show up to a party and like someone who I'd like seen freshman year who I like thought was really cool would like walk up to me and just be like, yo, you're the dude who fell off the building.
my God.
And be like, yo, what's up, man? Nice to meet you, Kevin. Let's be Facebook friends or whatever.
Oh, yeah,
and
Facebook was
it was
hot.
like it was like a dream come true on some level for me that I really didn't understand because I would go into spaces and I wouldn't have
just
to
knew who you were.
explain who I was. People would already have
Especially
this-
at NYU.
especially at NYU. And then I had this writing class that like I fell for this girl there and she was like, I know your story. We should hang out, blah, blah, blah. A lot of heartbreak from trying to be this like
You're trying to just
popular,
link
trying
on
to
it.
latch on to like this like personality. And by the time I figured out what I was doing, I was already like a junior. Like I'd already like, by the time I figured out like, oh shit, I'm trying to juice this shit. It was because this girl I had a crush on. It's always about a girl, man.
Yeah.
She cussed me out at this party. She was like coked up or whatever, but she was saying, she's spitting some real shit. She was like, you're just like not the same anymore. We met freshman year and I thought we were chill, like friends. And she just cussed me out. She was like, you're just not the same anymore. You're just like doing all this like weird shit. And I just like, nobody likes you here. Like for real, nobody actually likes you.
So did you think you were invincible a little bit at this point?
I feel that, yeah. I felt like a badass in like putting my trauma to the side, like to the back of my mind. Like I felt like a badass. I was like, I survived this shit.
Bro,
Like,
yeah, it's like you
I'm
survived
ready.
a hit in the mafia. You survived a fucking shark attack.
50 Cent got shot up. I
9
survived.
fucking times. You
I'm
got shot 10 times.
I'm
at
ready.
least.
I'm ready to go for this shit. I'm ready to like put out some music. I'm ready to become the biggest rapper of all time. And that was the mentality going in from 2013 up until like just when I was about to graduate. I think things changed, like when all the friends that I thought were like, you know, my friends just started to like fade away. Because like a story like that doesn't last forever. You know, nobody gives a fuck about that, especially in NYU, where stuff like that happens all the time. And at some point, my fame started to like really like burn out. And that's when I thought like, oh shit, it's just me. You know, like it's not really like, there's no story. Like it's just me, and I gotta like deal with my shit on my own.
And did that lead to you making an entire rap album about the fall?
It led to a bunch of albums about the fall, but certainly like the first one that I put out was like 2015. Yeah, right around when I was like, oh, this, like I need to make something out of this experience.
Yeah, you got to use your life experience.
I was living with my friend Nick, who helped find me, and we just like would go to the NYU Tisch recording studios. Like they have like post-production suites there.
Yeah.
So we would like record raps there. He'd make me beats. Like I was working at this coffee shop like at the time. So I'd come home from my shifts at like 1 a.m. We'd link up. We'd like make a couple beats, like spend the night like rapping. And then like we just put something out, you know, like our friends would be like, yo, that's fire. Like you guys should make more. My mom would be like, yo, this is sick. Like I love like you and Nick making music. We should do it. So we tried for like at least a year and a half, but shit just got like weird between us. I think it was like he felt like I was using him for his beats, and like an amazing producer, by the way, still is to this day one of the best producers I've ever like worked with. But it started to get in the way of our friendship, and he was like, "I'm not recording you like just when you want," and like shit like that. So the music shit became just a me thing after then, because when we graduated in 2016, I moved out, went to live with another friend, and we just like lost touch for a while.
You still stayed in New York City though when you moved out?
Yeah, I never left. Aside from like some summers when I went home to Pittsburgh to be with my mom for a bit, I moved from Bradhurst to Fort Greene, and then after Fort Greene, Nick and I moved to this place on East 7th. After East 7th, we moved to Prospect Park. And after Prospect Park, we went our separate ways, and then I moved to Pacific Street, which is somewhere Crown Heights.
Crown Heights, right in between like Crown Heights and Bed-Stuy. I think.
Yeah,
Maybe
like
I've been
right
up
off
there.
the C train, like
Yeah.
Utica stop. So I just
Right by that park.
was so nomadic. I was just like living, like every year would just like live somewhere else.
And how long have you been at your current spot?
3 months.
Oh wow, and it's with your girl too, right?
Yeah, this is the first roommate that I actually like.
Let's
fuck with.
go. Yeah, dude, it's hard to share a freaking bathroom with bros. And there's freaking
we're
pubes all over the
messy
place,
and
dude.
disgusting.
Yeah. You got to get in there sometimes with that Clorox wipe, you know, sometimes occasionally.
Bleach that shit.
Bro, this is quite the freaking story, man. I'd say before we get out of here though, I would like to know, I know we briefly spoke on it, but what do you think, or how do you think this impacted your life going forward? Realizing kind of like the people that you're in college with from the ages of 19, 20, 21, in general, people don't really stay friends with. But I think you kind of knew this right away. So how did that affect you? And then I guess, dude, 9 years later, you're sitting on this couch. What does your mindset look like on a day-to-day basis?
Okay, that's really great question. I think like figuring it out like in lifetime that like these people won't be here forever, because I won't be here forever, like was helpful, because I think I work at a coffee shop now, and I spent most of my day talking to people, like at least trying to make them feel
Do you
good.
flip the thing around and they add the extra tip?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. I
shit
fucking
around.
hate that thing, dude.
I mean,
As a customer,
food service sucks. But
you know
like,
what? Absolutely. Props to you, man. Give this guy $1.
Give me $1, please. Next time you see me, put $1 in my tip jar. And a lot of like forming genuine connections with people is what I like. I think that's what I've taken away from this, because at the same time, like I lost my friends, like they weren't there for me. I feel horrible about the way like our dynamics went down, but I also don't think that those were genuine friendships, because I went into them trying to be trying so hard to belong to something, and not even fully understanding what I was trying to subscribe to. You know what I mean? Like especially leaving high school where I had already like been in like cliques and stuff, and it hadn't worked out. I wanted so badly to be in this clique of friends that I thought would validate me as a person,
And it like changed you as a person.
yeah. And when
To try and hang out with them.
it did, I changed myself. I mutated my personality at least slightly just to be able to be more appealing.
Like that
So,
happens with girls all the time, as you bros know. So don't change yourself for no
Don't
girl.
do it.
Dude,
She's
for real.
not worth it.
Yeah.
She doesn't love you like that. 'Cause
And
she
you don't
doesn't
love
know
her
you.
like that.
Yeah.
You also don't love her like that.
And that's what I mean. Genuine connections, like being as authentic from the jump has been like the best thing I could do for any friendships or potential friendships or relationships, because it's so hard to like keep up a persona or an aesthetic or some, like just being yourself like all the time is way easier than like trying to adopt some other characteristics that aren't you. So what taking away from this is like I have no choice but to be myself, because at the end of the day, I am not some story about falling off a building. I'm just Asher, you know, like, and I can try and be, you know, like more eccentric. I can try and be more exciting, or I can try and like lie about who I am. But at the end of the day, it takes a lot of work, and I'm kind of lazy, honestly. Like I just want to be who I am, and I want to be happy about who I am. So when I meet someone, I think I do a really good job of, one, not pretending or trying to like appeal to who they are too much, but also to presenting myself in a way that is open and honest and is like a real version of me. Like I don't like sugarcoat who I am. I don't try to be someone I'm not anymore. And I'm grateful for that lesson, because that's a lesson that I see a lot of people, they haven't really learned yet. And it
takes some time.
I feel
for
bad
sure.
for them. But yeah, I'm 29 at the end of this month. I'm not a kid anymore. 19 is like such a long way from where I am now. I still remember what it was like to be that person, just like trying to find something to latch onto, you know what I mean? And now that like I'm 29, and it's not like I have one thing I'm latching onto me. I'm just like being myself, learning about who I am more, and being grateful for the time I got, you know?
Dude, Asher Vongtau, man. This is crazy, bro. I feel like I've known you for 10 years, man. Before we get out of here, anything coming up in 2023, we're going to pop up your Instagram right here, so you can just tell us things that are going on and where we can find you.
Honestly, I have been really quiet on the music front, but I got some new stuff coming out in June at some point. Yeah, hopefully you can put my SoundCloud up there. If not,
Would love to, bro. Anything that helps for sure. Maybe we can play your music right now. If you don't want to if you don't copyright us, we'll pop it up right now. Play a little music.
Oh my god!
Oh, this is perfect. What a great song!
What a great
here, dude.
song. Everyone's listening.
Pop up your Instagram here. So what is your Instagram, man?
It is Mercurial_Ash.
Spell that for us, please.
MERC